back after a week away, and now I'm full size. Mika Frankl, my fight show. We are on the road this week. Last week, well, getting on the road, going on the road. We did not have a show. So that means, first off, we really should step back to last week, but we can't do anything before we recognize the people that are helping us do what we're doing. And they are great. They are incredibly helpful in so many ways. Shout out to Barber Gabe's Fades. Shout out to Barbers R Us. You get the beard balm at barbergabefades.net. Got hooked up and cleaned up before going on the road. Robbie Ray Images in Media. The photos are superb each time he's on location. Might see him in Las Cruces this weekend. Shout out to Franklin Romero for everything he does. You get hydrated with Hydro Bar and keep the energy up with our friends at Dubby. 20% off with the checkout code Cage Minds to keep y'all energized, to keep y'all hydrated. All of those important necessities. Other business to be handled. You like, you share, and you subscribe to the video. It only helps us grow, helps us expand. You rate and review it if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And shout out to everybody every week that also is checking out the secondary version, thanks to talkABQ, part of the show going up on Comcast locally in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tonight, we have a lot in store. We have got several guests on tap. Aaron Baldonado, John Merino, both from Sandoval Fight Systems, going to be in action this weekend in Las Cruces. Warriors of the Empire. And we also have Charlie Vasquez back on the show, matchmaker from Empire Promotions, to preview his card July 11th. CFC in El Paso, and we have headliner UFC vet, former MFC champion, old school, if you know it, and you know who I'm talking about, longtime friend Anthony Birchak. El Toro himself is our main event guest tonight. So I'm so excited to be back after a week away. We have a lot in store for you. Hopefully, you're going to have some fun, and we're going to have some fun talking about some fights tonight. Of course, BKFC was in Hollywood, Florida 2 weeks ago. Or actually, excuse me, BKFC was in Hollywood, Florida a week ago, this past Thursday, celebrating the 8-year anniversary of the promotion. So, yeah, we're going to be getting to that in just a second. Don't forget, Championship Wrestling, Las Vegas, New Mexico, this Friday night on the 12th. You get a one-of-a-kind spectacle from Duke City Championship Wrestling. And then El Rey Theater, we'll see you guys June 20th, Pride and Power. MMA After Hours is up right now. We're talking about the Freedom 250 card. And we are also talking about this past week, UFC Vegas, a major step forward for Gabriel Bonfim, Brendan Allen holding his place in the division. So that is up on MMA After Hours. Tomorrow we have Pro Wrestling After Hours come up. We have the men's and women's Owen Hart tournaments going on in AEW, and not to mention even the King of the Ring tournaments from WWE. So a lot going on. Pro Wrestling After Hours is going to be up tomorrow. MMA After Hours is up today everywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Barber Gabe's Fades. Locally visit them 100 Coors Boulevard, Northwest Lobo Plaza, Suite 107 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Get the cut, get put tight, look right, and get that confidence up for your next big fight. Confidence was up high before I left Albuquerque when we stopped by the Johnny Tapia Memorial Fight Festival. That was over a week ago now. And shout out to Josh Pitbull Torres in the main event. succession of right hands for the first round knockout. Hopefully, you guys checked out the article up on cageminds.com. A tune up, Pitbull looking more than primed and ready for the end of July and for his UBO title fight. Clinton Chavez in the co-main event. That was the performance that we'd been wanting to see from Clinton forever. Used his length, a guy that has had those natural gifts, the 9 miles of arms and legs, got behind his jab, then put together a powerful right hand, a devastating stoppage over Monreal. So a huge victory for Chavez, who is now looking to be consistent and make another push in his career. On top of that, Andrew Flam with a 9 knockdown performance, defeating Johnny Tapia Jr. Tapia Jr. in the first round. His ability to pull Flam into his counter left hand really had me in awe of some major adjustments and improvements that he made in his game. The body work, the tenacity, and some guys that are just so tough that you can't put down. All those dogged attributes from Andrew Flam led to a rough and rowdy performance, putting Johnny Tapia Jr. in some compromising positions and just going to town on the body. A true lesson in heart, grit, and how to manage a fight. Impressive performance. Not to mention Derek Pettis coming in on 24 hours notice, saving the card so that Jonathan Tapia Jr. could still be part of the event, honoring his father. And it was the, again, grittiness, the experience. We're talking about probably 50 professional fights for Derek Pettis compared to only the second for Jonathan Tapia. That experience, having been in the war, been in the fire, Pettis being able to drag Tapia into a battle. Not to mention, Tapia had been practicing his traditional boxing, and then he changes opponents and has a bare knuckle boxing from him. We know Derek is just going to make it a incredible dogfight, make it tooth and nail every step of the way. So big shout out to a true warrior in BKFC whose game, no matter what the combat sport is, in Derek Pettis picking up a big victory. That was a bit over a week ago now at the Johnny Tapia Memorial event. And this summer, the Tapias do plan to have another event. Nico was talking about being on it. We're talking about July, maybe August. I'm sure that they'll want to recalibrate everything for Johnny Tapia Jr. And big things for Josh Pitbull Torres is I think he's going to take a week off. He may already be back in the gym as it was really just a hard night of sparring in getting a quick victory. The Johnny Tapia Festival overall delivered because it was action packed. It was emotional. It captivated the true essence of how the community felt about Johnny Tapia and rescinded that love, that gratitude for a legend, and the adoration of how they feel with him having no longer been here. Emotional for the family, for the fighters involved. A crazy week of emotion for Josh Pitbull Torres, who had received the gift of the final Johnny Tapia won title belt. Jonathan Tapia being gifted by Teresa Tapia, the first ever championship belt that he had won. The emotions overrunning a heightened atmosphere that from the weigh-ins was one of the most emotional and just heartfelt scenes I've seen in combat sports, up into a fight night that was there in the North Valley outside, brought out the community and definitely showed the attachment. I could have suggested maybe a few more lights at the venue, but all in all, a very fun atmosphere that got the message of honoring and loving the legacy of Johnny Tapia across beautifully. We're going to have Aaron Baldonado, Sandoval Fight Systems, scheduled to be up as our first guest in just a couple minutes. We do have some breaking news about Aaron scheduled to be in an Empire Promotions amateur strawweight title fight. And instead, that one is being changed at the last minute. His opponent pulling out. We'll have details on Aaron's new opponent and moving back up on the short notice call to 130 for this one. was going to be fighting at 115 and now will instead be fighting at 130. Still going to be in action this weekend. Empire Promotions, the Sandoval Fight Systems fighter, will be our first guest up tonight. We got his teammate, Fight World Amateur Lightweight title winner, John Wick Moreno, also to come in the show. Charlie Vasquez, the matchmaker, and first time in a long time, Anthony Birchak, Arizona original, former MFC champion, and a UFC vet. Had two different stints with the promotion. We're going to get to talk with El Toro tonight in the main event segment. So we have a loaded show coming up for you guys tonight, as we love to get around the combat sports world. We started off with boxing because that Johnny Tapia Memorial Fight Festival that I wasn't able to get my thoughts out on immediately. This past weekend, we did mention that one of the highlights earlier in the weekend was the 8th anniversary of BKFC event from the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. A pivotal matchup to the welterweight division in the main event that had some fireworks and a shocking ending in a chaotic manner. Bryce Henry officially gets the 4th round victory over Julian Lane. It comes by disqualification. Shocking moment. Yes. Let me bang bro Julian Lane of Ultimate Fighter fame, who had a rough go of it in bare knuckle, went overseas, fully rebuilt himself, came back, won the welterweight title. This was an opportunity on the other side for the young Bryce Henry. 6'3", long, jabbing, technical boxing, smooth striking prospect to have his breakout moment. And while the fight played out in large parts, it felt like in Lane's favor. Well, he was getting on the inside, being able to make it dirty and rough up Bryce Henry. Henry, still with his jab, with short shots on the inside, was able to open up Julian Lane. The frustration runneth over 35 seconds into the 4th round as a level change from Lane sends him into it's not a Roman Reigns-esque spear if you're familiar with pro wrestling, but it was a big takedown, and the double leg probably played up the dramatics by Henry grabbing his lower back, but whatever conversation ensued, the ref never really got turned around, never really got back to identifying and dealing with a Bryce Henry who some have said they felt was being overdramatic. He did get slammed, and it looks like everyone that gets slammed to the canvas in the bare knuckle ring, because we've seen quite a few takedowns. I've seen quite a few back injuries. Everyone seems to maybe exaggerate it. Maybe you're just playing it up because it's not necessarily the foul, but it's the extent of the damage that the foul produces that can sometimes lead to a point deduction. Either way, we never even got to the ref taking a solid look at Bryce Henry. It appeared from whatever the conversation that the referee was having with Julian Lane that at that moment he was not going to allow the fight to continue. Ref waves it off, and we never get to know what the judges were feeling about a fight that maybe looked reminiscent of a split decision earlier in the night. I think that this is a victory that could propel Bryce Henry to much bigger things. Or with BKFC, maybe this is just a academic, let's go back and have a rematch. Maybe that just makes the most sense. Maybe we're got to see what happened, what played out, because there is so much question on the scorecards. Lane was getting in the inside. He was having an opportunity to rough up, to get the body work done on Henry. Henry was not being able to maintain and just dictate with his jab. He was having success with it, but it wasn't fully deterring Lane from getting inside. So as for what BKFC is going to do, there is a lot of question. There is some intrigue. The title is held by Dustin Page at welterweight. Mika Frankl picks up that interim. Still seeing Julian Lane sitting there at the number one, even though with this loss, rankings are all over the place. I don't know if they got updated from this last week's action, considering it was on Thursday and we sit here a week later to Tuesday. I'd expect so, but controversial finish to the 8-year anniversary event of BKFC with Julian Lane hitting a double leg takedown on Bryce Henry. Not really how you expected that one to end. Gorgon Slavetsky in the co-main event with a unanimous decision victory over Johnny Tello. Early knockdown, a late knockdown, both pivotal on the scorecards as we go 48, 45, and 47, 46 times to close, credible fight of the night. Great back and forth, a back and forth that was so pleasing to BKFC President David Feldman that it's been announced that these two will run it back. That Slavetsky Tello 2 is the first official bout announced for the BKFC Cruise. So BKFC, BKFSEA, BKFC at sea. Your first bout will be a rematch from what David Feldman called on the Bare Knuckles show the greatest singular fight that the company has put on inside the Seminole Hard Rock, one of their favorite venues to visit, most oftenly return to. On top of those two bangers, we also had Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Yes, the Utah fighter up at cruiserweight, putting a stop to the 2-fight win streak of Stephen Tomahawk Townsend. Left hook, right hook, wild exchange. And in just 56 seconds, Jones with a devastating knockout, knocking on the door of the top 5 cruiserweight division. G. Pettis, Mike Hansen, one that I was ecstatic for, that I thought was crucial to the 125-pound division. I'm just not sure how much it matters to the flyweight division now, as the fight ends up being contested around 139 pounds. And it's just me. I know with rehydration, both Pettis and Hansen would have came in around 140 pounds, but getting on the scale and then being able to be blown up a little bit more. The Pettis size advantage was noticeable. His power was dynamic on the night. It still leaves me questions about, is G Pettis, well, we love talking to the Cup man, respect him truly, incredible backstory. It does leave me the question still, is he a true flyweight? He is a contender when he steps in the ring at flyweight, but we haven't seen him continually make flyweight. Another 139-pound fight. He takes out a fellow contender at flyweight, but as they're both hydrated up for this one, I wonder how much that hampered a Mike Hansen who was on the size disadvantage, and how much that levels things out from when he's having guys come down to his weight class. But a big victory for G Pettis. Even more clearly, when can BKFC announce the Andrew Strode, John Dotson title unification bout at flyweight? If not, what are we doing? And then G Pettis could be getting in with the winner after we have a unified champion. Feels like we can't get too many steps ahead of ourselves here. There should be an order to these processes. It's not like we're recreating the reel. It's combat sports. There's champions. If there's an interim champion, there's usually a title unification. Gustavo Ballart, 4'9", amazing brawler, able to get on the inside, and it was a interesting back and forth where Alexander Gutierrez really did feel that he was having success poking away with his jab, being effective, and minimizing taking big shots. He was getting worked over on the body in the clinch, Both men felt that they had success. You knew one was going to be sad, and that ends up being Gutierrez Ballart taking the split decision win. The former one champion contender and Cuban wrestler with a successful BKFC debut. Peter Praza, 5 knockdown victory over Ashton Cannoli, doing it in just 2 rounds. That's 4 minutes of action. The lightweight had a huge size disadvantage. Ashton, if we see him back in BKFC, hopefully it's at 45, maybe even down to 35. But Peraza, someone that I definitely want to see against a higher level of competition, and a huge rebound on the night for Julio Perez Rodriguez, who is able to put together 2 overhand lefts, crazy knockdowns to stop Lamont Stafford in 44 seconds. This was a big rebound for Rodriguez, who had been a huge name. He suffers 2 losses. He's now righted the ship and got back going in the direction that he wants to be, back towards title contention at 205 pounds. So you didn't know it going in, but the cruiserweight division, with a lot more movement and significant findings on the night than expected, Silvesky gets a second win in a row. The former world title challenger, though, is running it back with Johnny Tello because of the entertainment factor. BKFC doubling up the paydays on this one, double fight checks for Silvesky and Tello. So that's cool to see. And Bryce Henry, Julian Lane, I'm not sure. Can't wait to find out what the backstory in the chaos was there. Bryce Henry, though, I truly believe has earned something bigger and better. Maybe Carlos Trinidad Snake, and we could see those two young prospects duel it out to see who is next after Peg and Franco unify. Because again, interim champion, world champion, unification should be in order. BKFC had some news this weekend. We know that Liberty Brawl, July 3rd, Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia. Trout Bonner, lightweight title tournament finals. Can Austin Trout, now that he's become a history making crossover champion from boxing to bare knuckle boxing, can he win a second bare knuckle world title? Britain Hart is back. She is defending against Sarah Shell. Johnny Garbarino, who I've been dying to see in a bigger fight, is going to be taking on Mike the Marine Richmond, most hated man in combat sports, Lex Ludlow, and brutal Jake Bostwick. Just some of the names that have already been announced for July 3rd, Liberty Brawl. BKFC is returning to Italy, Naples for the first time, Italy for the third time, July 18th. We had announced earlier, a couple weeks ago, that Lorenzo Hunt versus Walter Puzzilli is going to be the main event. Still waiting for more details on weight class for that one. But BKFC European title fights have been announced in a pair. So in light heavyweight action, Tony Estora versus Thomas Malesi. And for a cruiserweight European title, it's Ernesto Papa, 2-0 in BKFC versus Jindrits Beatrice. Earlier in the year, I believe there were remarks from David Feldman where they had talked about doing away with the BKFC UK and European titles because the pipeline had not been turning out as expected. We had like a Gary Fox facing off with Kai Stewart, made sense. The BKFC Europe champion and the BKFC world champion. And then that fight never came to fruition. So from once announcing that we're doing away with the regional titles because we weren't enacting them in the proper way, to now announcing there will be regional title fights still going on. I hope that internally BKFC has worked on the mechanism and figured out how they are appropriately going to add these champions into the rankings. You look at Aggie Faulkner, the BKFC UK heavyweight champion. I don't even think he's in the heavyweight rankings, but yet he's the UK champion. So I think there's still some things with the BKFC to be sorted out, and hopefully those matters are fully in the processes of getting sorted. Aaron Baldonado looks like he's working on joining us right now. So we'll be getting to that interview just a second, waiting to get a thumbs up from Aaron Baldonado. Sandoval Fight Systems in action this weekend. Las Cruces, New Mexico, going to be fighting at 130 pounds, originally scheduled to be at 115 in a title fight, but things happen. We were talking about BKFC as we're waiting for Aaron to get ready. BKFC is going to be debuting in the Democratic Republic of Georgia in November. And then their rivals, BKB, is going to debut July 18th in LA. Victor Ortiz, 2-division champion, Smash LT Nelson, former professional boxer Alfredo Angulo, Bellator vet Henry Corrales, plus Kane and Zion Tomlinson Jr., both going to be on the card. Aaron Baldonado joining us any second. Let's see if we can bring in our first guest of the evening. It's fight week for the SFS fighter. Let's add him in right now. How we doing, Aaron?
Good, good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I got you. Sorry, I was coming in low, so I had to get some headphones.
It's all right. It's all right. We appreciate you taking the time out tonight, fight weekend. I got some sources that have told me it's already a hectic one for you.
A little bit, yeah.
All right. I heard 115 title fight off the table, and now you're jumping up to 130.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's real unfortunate. I guess Brendan got injured. He said he injured his knee, so it's unfortunate. I was really looking forward to the 5 rounds. I've been training hard for that. Title was nice. Kind of a second thought. I was looking more forward to the bout with Brendan just because he has experience. But as long as they got me a replacement, I'm here to fight, so I'm good.
What has camp been like? How is everything in lead up the last couple weeks?
This is probably the best camp I've had. I know a lot of fighters say that, but I'm pretty genuine about that. I feel like I've improved a lot this camp. I had to sit out for a little while since my last fight, just coming off of injuries. So I got some time to rest, got some time to just kind of like work on the tools, add some things to my game and just improve. I feel the strongest I've ever been. I was really looking forward to the 115 cut, honestly. Just because I felt like I would have been so strong at that weight class. But, we'll get another shot at it.
When you sat back and assessed during the time that you were injured, what hit you? What did you take stock of? What were the revelations that you came to?
The realization of like I'm meant to do this, sitting out for a little bit was kind of like stressful, Like I hated like not being able to go to the gym and like not being able to train for a little bit, not having to fight for so long. I want to stay active. Like I really want to like showcase my skills and just be out there, but it gave me time to like reflect on my fight, things I did right and that like my mental state going into it, just allowing myself to be calm and, not taking the fight game for granted, like I said I was going to do this. I said I was going to be here. And then to like sit out for a little bit was kind of frustrating. But, I'm healthy now. I'm 100% healed. Like I said, the best shape I've ever been in. So I'm just looking forward to getting out there and scrap.
You haven't been doing this for that long. Did it almost surprise you that you felt the longing to get back in there, that you had that gap, that hole in your life?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've only been training for about like 2.5 years, going on 3 years. But being able to fight and like the opportunity to fight is it's such a different experience of life. Like I came from this just being like an afterthought in my head, like a delusion almost of just like, cause I was like out of my mind, I was not in a good state, I was in a really like mentally broken state when I joined the gym, and then when I got the chance to fight, like it all became so real, you know, like I remember like that specific thought of like, I kept telling myself over and over and over again, like, I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to be a fighter. And everybody looked at me like, you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you're a little bit older. I'm not like, I didn't start like very young, you know, I think I started when I was like 25. So that's like considered kind of a late start in MMA game, you know? So like, you know, I felt like I had to, you know, really push forward and grow like right away, you know, because there's people that were, you know, doing MMA at 17, 19 years old, you know, and I had just started at 25. But I feel like my wrestling experience and just my life experience is what led me to, you know, grow and to really, you know, be a fighter. You know, I've always said it since I was a kid, you know, I've never been scared to like scrap. You know, I was always like a rough kid growing up. So like I knew like this was my only like life goal. You know, I really don't have any other ambitions for anything else but this.
You almost sounded like when you found the gym, there was this turmoil, this mental chaos, and were you surprised in that moment that you're able to make a a life changing decision that's one that you look back on and is profoundly the correct move to make, and in such a chaotic time, it's surprising to make the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, and for that, you know, I thank God, you know, because like my life was very hectic. It was very chaotic, you know, I was down in the dumps, but like it led me to this gym, you know, like, you know, so I don't regret anything. Like all the decisions, all the bad decisions I made, like all the you know turmoil that I had to go through, like led me here, and it led me right to Freddie. And I think that was the perfect match. You know, like I couldn't imagine like going to another gym or anything like that because Freddie like understands all of us, like all of his fighters on like such a deep level. Like he knew, you know, I was broken. I was broken mentally, and he knew like he had to build me up. And you know, Freddie gives me all the confidence in the world, and so do my teammates. You know, like they never discouraged me. They never like you know said this and that about me. You know, they just let me keep coming. And with that, like I made the decision, like you know, I'm gonna get clean and I'm gonna take this serious. And this is my shot. You know, this is my team. You know, I feel like I belong here, and I wouldn't fight for anybody else but Freddie Sandoval.
What do you think it was that enabled him to find that connection with you? No two people have like the same path, the same journey, but yet
Hmm.
he's been able to do that with so many of the team members. What is it about Freddie that he's been able to have that connection and get inside of the shoes really of the guys who
Hmm.
are coming through his door?
Um, I think it's probably you know everybody knows Freddie. He's kind of a crazy guy himself, you know. So like I feel like he's seen it, you know, like he's been there. He's been through the ringer himself, you know. He's had the ups and the downs in his own personal life, and he's come back from it. And he's like the positivity that he brings to the gym is you know it's inspiring, you know, like to see him dedicated and to see all the sacrifices he makes for all of us, you know, with everything, with our diet, with our, you know, the training, the strength conditioning, the scheduling, like he really cares, you know, and I think that's what made me like really appreciate this gym is that how much he cares and how much he puts into the gym because, you know, he doesn't just make me come here and train. Like he's always on me about like my mental, you know, he can see when I'm, you know, certain days I wouldn't want to be here. You know, I was like kind of dragging my feet through the mud, and you know, I was very like down on myself a lot. But he just kept encouraging me, and you know, in those moments, he would like make me reflect and like help me realize like I'm doing what 99% of the world isn't doing. You know, and like I lost my first fight. You know, I feel like I won, but you know, I felt like such a loser afterwards because I was like, man, I said I was going to do this, and then I lost. You know, I lost by decision. He was more upset about it than I was because I was just like, you know, if I lost, you know, the judges say I lost, then I must have lost. You know, but he was like, nah, like even though you lost, like you didn't quit, you didn't like run from the fight, you didn't, you know, you did everything I wanted you to do. And then he was just like, yeah, like you actually did it. You know, that was the biggest thing that he told me. He was like, you went in the cage when no one else does this. You know, like no one else is willing to go through the camp completely. And and show up every single day and work on their craft and go out there and just lay it all on the line, because it is a crazy experience, like I say, fighting is not like anything else in the world, you're almost like naked out there, like everything like is just shown. You're like all your emotion, all your fears, all your dreams, it's all on the line, and to go out there and to test yourself, like that's the game, whether you win or lose is, it's another thing.
And what did you find in that game that has you returning? Did you maybe even soul search and find out what it was that's speaking to you while you're going star crazy on the couch wanting to get back in the gym?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it's always been, I feel like people always doubt me, people doubt me, people don't, yeah, a lot of people didn't believe in me, so I really was like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm actually trying to make my dreams happen, and, a lot of people aren't. They're just kind of sitting on the couch and casting stones, so I'm like, you guys can sit there and do that, but like, I'm actually in the gym and I'm actually out here fighting and grinding, and just that personal drive, I had a kind of a chip on my shoulder because of it. Like, I had so many people, women doubt me, saying I was never going to be this and I was never going to be that. And I'm just like, just keep watching. Like, I will become a pro one day. And I believe me and everybody on my team, we can definitely make it out there. We can show the world that we're one of the best teams, not only in the region, but in the world, like I truly believe that, like the way that our team has bonded and the way that we push every single day, and the skills that we have, like the determination, I feed off of it here in the gym, like all my teammates, I say, every single one of them, they're my heroes, seeing them like go out there and do it. And they encourage me to do it because sometimes I don't believe in myself, but because my teammates believe in me, like, that gives me that belief, like I can do it,
Huge belief, huge support system within the team, but it also sounds like those doubters. Is it more like fuel to the fire, or is there just a natural chip on your shoulder?
Uh, yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, because I'm a little dude, I'm a small guy. So like I was always, kind of insecure about that as a kid, like I used to get bullied a lot in school, and my dad always told me like, don't let like people disrespect you, don't let people bully you. If you got to fight them, I'm okay with that. If you get suspended from school, like I'll vouch for you. So I did that a lot. I did that a lot as a kid. I used to like, because coming up, I was kind of, I was poor, so I would wear like my hand-me-downs from my brothers. I'd have like holes in my shirt. My glasses would be broken and they got like tape on them, and kids used to come up to me and just make fun of me, and make fun of my size, and because I wasn't a very fit kid, and nor was I like athletic, I was very small. But every time they did, I was like, all right, I got to stand up for myself. And then I started standing up for some of my friends that got bullied, So I would get in trouble a lot, like during school. So I've always had that chip on my shoulder. And then as I got into, became an adult and I got let go from the police force, everybody, doubted me. Everybody was like, you know, what are you going to do with your life? How did you lose your job? Like, you're an idiot and this and that. And, I wasn't doing anything to like better myself at the time because I just gave up on like that whole idea of life, so I was drinking a lot and I was just a bum. I wasn't working. And so everybody was like, oh, he's just drunk and he's just an angry dude. And, people used to just talk about me all the time like I was some wild animal, and I was, but I was like, yeah, I am. But now I have something to like, aim that at.
Was it the gym, maturity? What do you feel really started to pull you out and give you the confidence to be the guy that we more know rather than this guy that was taking that abuse? Because I don't think I've met that version of you.
Yeah, I think it was just because I was willing to stand up for myself. I was willing to stand up for myself. I wasn't willing to get bullied. I always had something to say. If you were gonna, talk crap, I'm gonna talk crap back. And if you want to fight, like we'll fight. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty honest. I do my best to be honest with myself and be honest with people around me. And not everybody likes that, because sometimes the truth hurts, and even in my own personal life, I had to look at some truths that were like going on in my own life and be like, man, this sucks. And that was like what dragged me down for a little bit, was just like the pain of that, but yeah, and I give all the credit to my dad, because, like I said, he told me as a kid, he was just like, as a man, you only have two things in this world: your word and your balls. So if you ain't got either one, like, you ain't a man, So stay true to your word, stand up for yourself, and you know, who cares what people say at the end of the day?
Aaron Baldonado, our guest. It's My Fight Show interview brought to you by Barber Gaze Fades, the barber from SFS. With the fight coming up, you get the call. It's 115. Was this something that had been in the works? Was it hard to find? I know that Empire is one of the few promotions that's doing 115 here in the state.
Right. I was watching the pay per view, right? Because I had my teammates fighting on the last Empire card, so I was watching the pay per view, and I saw the title fight, and I was like, 115. I was like, man, it's a small weight class, And I was like, I'm not a very big 125er. I usually don't have to like cut a whole lot of weight to make 25. So like, I saw that, and I saw Brendan fight, and I was like, man, that title's mine. I could take that. I was like, I could be really dominant at 115. I feel like I'm a strong guy. I feel like I'm fast. So I'm like, it was a good opportunity. It was a good chance. And like I said, I was like, I could make that weight. I could really push, and because like I said, I don't really cut a whole lot of weight. And I used to cut weight back in like wrestling and stuff. So I haven't like really like gotten the suit and sweat and, this and that, the other. I kind of just layer up and do the normal workout, and I'm on weight, So like, to actually like, I was really looking forward to that. I was looking forward to the cut. I was looking forward to like seeing myself at 115. And I look at that title like, man, this is my division. If I can make that, I don't see anybody beating me at this division. I already feel that way about 125, but 115 especially.
Now, rehydrate a little more, back up to 130. I heard is what the fight's going to be at. How much
Mm-hmm.
of an adjustment now, stylistically, moving on to the new opponent, and how many adjustments do you feel you have this week?
Not a lot, because I go out there to fight my fight. I don't think about my opponent. I don't think about what they're good at. I know what I'm good at, and I know I'm good everywhere. I know when I bring it, and I do what I'm supposed to do. Like, nobody can beat me, whether 115, 125, heck, even 135. Like, I know that I'm a well-rounded fighter. I can take this fight wherever I feel like I want to go. If you want to stand, we'll stand. If I want to take you down, I'll take you down. If you take me down, good luck. Like, good luck trying to get me to the ground. And even then, like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna make you work. I feel like my conditioning is in such like good shape. Um, I can go 5 rounds. I've been training hard for 5 rounds, and now that this is three, it changes the pace a little bit, just because I don't have as much time to like work, or and because those 3 rounds go by a lot quicker. Once you get ready for 5 rounds, you're like, man, three's nothing. you know. So it's like, that's about it. Just the pace. Like I said, I don't get as much time to like play around, but it is what it is.
So, what is your expectation for how you perform the time away, first time back in a while? What do we see out of you Saturday night?
I see a show. I see a spectacle. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna put a pace on them, and I'm just gonna do what I do best. I don't have like I said, I don't really have like much of a game plan. Like, obviously, I visualize how the fight's gonna go. I'm looking to just be aggressive, push forward. I never like search for the specific thing, like the specific finish, but that's what I'm really trying to go for. My last fight went by decision, and that was great. To go all 3 rounds, but I'm always here to get that finish. I'm not hunting for it, but I know I have the ability to finish, and if I choose to get this to the ground, like, I got mean ground and pound, and I feel like I can end this fight with just strikes on the ground. And if he gives up his neck because he don't want to be there anymore, I'll take it. I'll get that submission. It doesn't matter. I'll finish this fight anywhere.
You have a good night, Aaron. Thanks for joining us on My
Thank
Fight
you,
Show.
brother. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. From one side of the SFF gym, I tell you guys, we were going to jump right to the other side of the gym. Amateur title fight in the lightweight division. John
Doing
Wick
that concept very
Moreno.
well.
I don't know if he's paying attention to the phone or not, if he can hear me, but he's on camera.
It stops anything. It blunts them. Yep. Is he doing it live? Oh, shit. Hey, my bad, Micah.
Yeah, you're live on
Give me
camera.
1
Wasn't
second.
paying attention for the first second. I was like, hey, from one corner of the gym, wherever Aaron's sitting, to with John Wick Moreno, who's not paying attention. Ha
Hey, no, I'm right here, Micah. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. Yes, sir.
Starting to get used to this whole amateur title fight setting?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's become a part of the norm, I guess.
Is it? That's what we're asking you. Or is it just an I guess right now? You're not sure?
I'm totally ready for this. Yeah, I'm prepared, and yeah, this is the norm, man.
We got the norm. You're in these title fights. The amateur career is progressing. Is everything coming together as you expected?
You know, getting into this, I'm just doing this because I love it, man. Like, I don't have, I'm not expecting anything. You know what I mean?
Really?
I'm doing
You
this
didn't have,
for the love of the game.
and that thought process hasn't changed. We're 5 fights heading into your 6th here in MMA. Those thoughts, that process, it hasn't changed.
I feel like just treating every fight like it's the first fight has been the key to my success. And I've grown as a fighter. I know more now, but I am still like, this is just like the first fight that I had, you know?
Is that the excitement? Is that the nerves? Is that just the joy of the game that it's that feeling?
Yeah, I think it's just the love of it, man. It's also thinking about it as though just this fight isn't, every fight is as important as the first one was. I guess that's how I mean it.
I could see the importance of being on the same level because I figure the experience, definitely with the amount of fights you're having and as the stakes raise, there's got to be some of the adjustments that are coming in because the experience that matters. And that experience then kind of leads to looking at it a bit differently. Like, oh, this was the hardest fight. And then you have the hardest fight ever. And you have one and you're like, that wasn't so hard. Or, hey, I did learn this new technique. Or, hey, I now implementing it. So I feel like things do change over time.
No, 100%. I mean, it's changed. I've changed. But I guess trying not to get caught up in being undefeated, being a future double champ. Like, if I'm worried about that stuff, I won't be as free once I'm actually in the cage. So just treating it like this is just another fight is how I can go in the cage and be totally free.
Okay, so has there been, is that just kind of the mindset of it, of is keeping almost the pressure in some of the outside volume the same, while still letting the martial artist kind of evolve, and maybe the thought processes on how you're fighting, having that mindset maybe change?
I think that the more someone is in their head thinking about anything, the further out of your body you are. So I think just, yeah, being in this moment, present. You know, I'm blessed to be able to do what I'm doing and to have another title opportunity. So,
And how much is practice then great for the the learning of how to control the presence. Like that just sounds like something like you get from sparring. Like you
Right.
get to be there. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You're letting it
Yeah.
flow. You're watching your partner and you're learning how to read and intake the signals that will give you your adjustments when you're fighting.
Yeah, 100%, man. You know, I think part of why I've grown and continuing to grow as much as I have um, is just from being, yeah, like being here in this moment. I'm not thinking about other shit. That's the whole reason why I love martial arts in the first place.
So will being almost carefree and free flowing, how do you also take stock and not become complacent, because you're not trying to over analyze everything you're doing and you're not trying to become stiff, but you always kind of want to push yourself.
That's what my coaches are for, man. And I have three of the best in the business. You know, anytime I need to be pushed, I got Freddie, Jose, and Paco at SFS. They'll give me the work, I do it, and that's the blueprint right there.
We've talked to you before, and felt like fighting has been a true outlet for you, and a true kind of almost turning down of the volume of other chaos in life. Is that still kind of the same place where you're at right now with being in the gym?
Yes, sir. Yeah, 100%, man. It's not often that I step away from this gym more than a few days, but when I do, I know that I'm not as good of a person. Like I'm not. Uh, I don't know. I'm not as laid back and you know, happy-go-lucky. Like yeah, that outlet is the same as it always has been.
Have you figured out like what that connection is? Why this outlet is that beneficial for you and necessary?
I think it's. I don't know, man. Just it helps. Like a healthy mind, body, and soul is is the key, you know, and this gives you all of that, you know. You get brotherhood from the team, you know. You get to test yourself physically. I get in great shape. It's like for all of those reasons, you know.
Coming off of the submission victory in the last fight, you've had now couple months to be tinkering around here in the gym. How hard and how much do you feel the guys have pushed you to expand and evolve the game?
Oh yeah, man. Um, I mean, I can't give them enough praise, you know. With this team, everybody has fights or something. Even the coaches, they're all competing in either jiu-jitsu or boxing or whatever. So yeah, having all these guys around me, man, it's like, yeah, they push me. They push me, and we have a good, I think, just a good thing.
You've went 3 rounds, you've went 5 rounds, you've found a couple submission victories, even though you keep saying you're a striker and everyone's just wrestling you.
You know,
Where
I'm not really the one saying I'm a striker, man. I tell everyone that I'm good everywhere, but other people call me striker, so
so we'll just go with it. Uh,
yeah.
what did you think was the next evolution in your game? What were you looking at that you wanted to fill in the holes?
After the Marvin fight,
Yeah, just with all this time that you've had, where was your thoughts coming off of that Marvin fight?
I think I think a big part of it was with Marvin. As soon as I decided I'm gonna win this fight, you know, I had decided previously before entering the cage, but the first 2 rounds I kind of was like moving around uh, and not just taking the moment. I realized something in that fight, that the power of my mind, whenever I decide I'm going to fucking take this guy out right now, uh, that's as simple as it is, man. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from that fight. Just understanding that when I'm ready to go, there's nothing that can stop me.
Was there a subconscious holding yourself back prior?
No, I think you get to being in the cage. There was things in the Marvin fight that weren't what I expected, and that's like that in any fight. But Marvin, we were expecting him to kind of stand and strike with me a little bit more. Um, as soon as the first exchange happened, he grappled me, and I kind of was like okay with those 2 rounds playing that grappling. And then, yeah, I guess I just made that decision. Nah, let's take this dude out. In the third, that's just like that mindset shift.
Do you almost get, is it easy to fall into that trap of, if there's not an immediate danger, to almost following in and playing somebody else's game, where you're playing chess and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to beat you here because you took it here. Why not? Let's go back and forth.
Yeah. No, I think I'm pretty good at making people play my game, but in that instance, I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable grappling with him, and I think I think that it just drew it out a little bit more than I think it needed to.
Empire Promotions, lightweight title fight. Is the belt more important to bring it back to the gym than to add a second to your waist?
I think the belt represents all of the hard work that my team has put into me and the work that I've put in myself. Bringing it home is bringing it home for my team, for me, for my family that has helped me get ready for this, with meal preps and stuff like that. It's for everyone. Yeah.
X's and O's wise, or expectation, what do you think this fight looks like?
I think that this fight is going to be everywhere. That's what I think.
Not really seeing just one specific way, but you think this is going to take all your skills to get it done?
Yeah, I think that I could see this fight playing out in every striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I could see it everywhere. Yeah.
Have you started to let the question creep in your head? 2 title fights as a lightweight. You starting to think, is Mike going to start asking me and bother me when I'm turning pro?
What do you mean?
Am I going to start asking you those questions? Have you started to wonder if those questions are coming with the resume you're putting together?
I think that this is something we always talk about after my fights with me and my coaches, but I know that it's not far away.
You feel it's close, that you're putting the right blocks in place to get those necessary thumbs up from them to say, yeah, let's take the next challenge?
Yes, sir. I feel like I said, every camp and every week I'm getting better, and I think I'm ready for any challenge. Whenever Freddie says, "Let's go pro," let's go pro.
When Freddie says, let's go pro, he's going to go pro. We just talked to Aaron Baldonado. We got John Wick Moreno in here, SFS representing ahead of Empire Promotion, Warriors of the Empire, Las Cruces, New Mexico, Pan Am Center. This Saturday, we got a stacked 19 fight card coming up. And in just a minute, we're going to have matchmaker Charlie Vasquez joining us. He's going to drop his 2 cents about both of the 2 men that we just talked to. He'll shed some light on the pro card. We're going to have Charlie Vasquez coming up, and we got to thank John Wick Moreno. Still, everybody, dude, they don't just say John Moreno. It's John Wick Moreno. Do you realize that the nickname is so cool? It's taken on that you now have 3 names.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, it's pretty dope. I was happy with it.
Sir, we appreciate you joining us tonight. You have a great week.
Yes, sir. You as well. Thank you, Micah.
We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
John Wick Moreno joining us on My Fight Show. Hour one already in the books. Yeah, hour number one already done. Got a shout out to Barber R Us Beard Balm. It keeps it shiny, it keeps it tight, it keeps everything looking great on the face. The new Velvet Noir is available online at barbergabesfades.net. You still got the classic cherry also available in stock, a little bit sweeter of an aroma. The Velvet Noir, I think that's my new choice, recommended from Mika Frankl. We got Robbie Ray Images, always taking care of the photos. I think he's going to be heading down to Las Cruces this weekend. He was in El Paso for CFC6. And don't forget, tonight in our main event interview segment, we are going to be joined by Anthony Birchak, UFC vet, CFC7 headliner. We got hour number 2 of the show coming right at you. This is My Fight Show on the road edition. Appreciate everybody for watching. Every like, every share, every subscribe. Truly appreciate. Yep. Hour number 2, we are back. It's My Fight Show. Mika Frankl. Just a moment away from Charlie Vasquez, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Empire Promotions gonna be here to help us preview his entire fight card. Thank you guys for watching. Rate, review. If you're listening to this, Apple Podcast, Spotify, thumbs up. Every like appreciated. Every share. We were talking a little bit earlier about BKFC, BKB. Don't forget, pro wrestling returns to Albuquerque, New Mexico, June 20th. Our friends at Duke City Championship Wrestling. It's Pride and Power. And we are doing that at the El Rey Theater on June 20th. MMA After Hours is out right now. Me and Michael Carlisle, the downfall of Muhammad, the rise of Gabriel Bonfim, Steve Garcia, Diego Lopez, everything UFC White House. It's on MMA After Hours. The episode is up right now across social media and cageminds.com. Tomorrow, Pro Wrestling After Hours will be out. WWE coming off of a clash in Italy, having tons of storylines with the Bloodline, and AEW heading into Forbidden Door. Well, they will work with CMLL, Mexican promotion, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, along with Japanese women's promotion, Stardom. So 4 different promotions coming together for Forbidden Door, and we are on the road to that pay-per-view at Pro Wrestling After Hours tomorrow. Barber, Gabe's, Fades. We can't thank them enough for all the support. 100 Course Boulevard, Lobo Plaza, Suite 107. The shop with the fundamentals on lock. Book online at barbergabesfades.net. Walk-ins are welcome, but you get handled quickly. You get that first round finish if you already book your appointment. No waiting around to go to the decision and to see what seat comes available. Don't forget to expand your media presence with Robbie Ray Images. And yeah, we are getting the thumbs up. Our next guest is available. It's going to be their 5th fight card already in Las Cruces this coming weekend. Live local MMA in Las Cruces this weekend. Empire Promotions is back once again. Matchmaker Charlie Vasquez is here to help us with a preview of what you're going to see at Empire of the Warriors. As we're trying to add into the studio. There you are, Charlie. Sorry, how you doing?
What's going on, Mike? How you been, man?
I've been well. Good to see that you guys are back. Another card, 19 fights. We got a couple changes. We'll discuss all of it, but how's it feel? Empire Promotions on the cusp of making another one happen.
Fifth show, man. We're looking forward to it. This is going to be the biggest one so far. Made a couple changes. We've got a lot of fights, 5 pro fights, 2 title fights. I think it's still 12 Emmys. Man, it's a good time to be a MMA fan.
Good time to be an MMA fan. And before we forget about it, tickets still available?
Of course, man. Ticketmaster.com. Just look up the NMSU Pan Am, and we're the first event that pops up.
First event that pops up, you mentioned it, 5 on the pro side. We got a couple amateurs at the top of the card. As I've been seeing it, I believe we're looking at Christopher Tavares is going to be going against Alberto Solis in the main event. Is that still the case?
That's the main event. We've got homegrown Chris Tavares, wrestled out of Eastwood High School, started fighting with Empire about a year and a half ago, making his pro debut. Looking to keep that steam that he started and keep on rolling off the amateur circuit, all that stuff that he built up. It's time to see if the hype's for real. Fighting a guy that was a Mexican national champ in MMA. He's just a tough guy. He's willing to come out and throw. It's going to be a banger, man. They're both making their pro debuts, and they happen to be the main event.
Happen to be the main event, extensive amateur backgrounds with championship credentials. Do you expect that one to be the fight of the night, or you expecting a different fight from the pros to maybe be that banger?
So there's a couple that have fight of the night potential. Both of these guys in the main event, they're both pretty decorated as amateurs. They definitely have a chance to be the fight of the night. Honestly, I think though the amateurs might steal it.
All right, all right. We might be seeing the amateur steal the show, but the co-main event want to give them a little bit of shine too. Aiden Lopez, Taylor Andrews. That's still the case.
Yes, sir. Both those guys signed up early. They've both turned everything in, got everything ready to go. They've been keeping healthy. Um, Aldan's looking to bounce back. He had a little bit of a rough showing on his pro debut. But he's been putting in the work this time. He had a little bit of an issue right before, no excuses. So we won't give him any leniency, but he's definitely ready to come out, put on a show. Taylor started out 0-1 and he's 1-1. He's looking to continue the win streak. Looks like it should be a good fight. Adon might have him in the striking. Taylor's got really good ground game, so if he decides to go to the ground, it's going to be a back and forth. He's really going to put him to the test.
All right, so we got classic striker versus grappler. And on the pro side, what is the other fight that you would highlight?
So we do have a couple. The one that's going to be right before that co-main event is Javier Duchesne versus David Miramontes. Both these guys come in with a lot of experience. Miramontes has about 13 pro fights already. Javi's going on his 5th. But Javi did have a lot of amateur fights, and so they're both on their like 16th or 17th fight already. It looks like it's going to be calculated chaos, I guess, if you want to say anything else. They're both pretty good on the ground. Javi's comes out as a decorated wrestler. Miramontes is a jiu-jitsu guy. They're both good at striking. Javi with his Muay Thai background and boxing background. That should be a good one. They're both going to be moving, and 125ers, they never disappoint. I mean, they're always moving around. You know what I'm saying?
Emir Montes, yeah, familiar with him, seeing him against Jesse Tafoya, a couple other names here in Albuquerque. Joseph Velez, we know that he is always out for a 1-round fight. So nicely put together pro card. On the amateur side, is it 1 or 2 title fights that we're having?
So it's going to end up being 2 title fights. We've got middleweight title, Clinton Kamikaze and Jacob Snowy Inc. Kamikaze, I mean, that guy is built like a brick shit house. Man, he's always throws hard. That guy can that guy's literally the stopping machine. And what was crazy is Jacob actually asked for that fight and said, "Hey, is this the guy that you're putting up for a title? I want to fight him." And so I don't know if he thinks he has his number or he knows what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to be some fireworks because both guys are coming in with some bad intentions. And Kamikaze, man, that guy he's a scary guy to be around. He's the
I
nicest
want to
guy
say
outside of the cage, though.
that snowing, we've seen incredible wrestling and Kamikaze. Yeah, he was in all worlds of bad positions against Quinshawn Randallson at APFC. So not just that this is a Empire Promotions title fight, but this is one that, along with Gabe Bencomo, these were three guys that we were talking about APFC possibly looking at for their amateur titles. So this is a amateur title fight, no matter what card it's on.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's going to be it's probably three of the best guys in the Southwest. Not El Paso, not Cruces, not even New Mexico, but all over the place. It's probably three of the best guys in the Southwest that are going to be fighting up there for a pretty long time. Hopefully, they don't disappoint. They put on a good show.
And then in the lightweight division, John Moreno, who we've seen capture and have title fights in a couple different promotions, versus Cole Knapp.
So Cole Knapp, he was originally born in El Paso, grew up in Cruces. Right now, he's training out of Corpus Christi. He's with Texas Fight Style. Those guys, they brought in a few guys last promotion. I got to talking to Cole, great kid. Good. He's good all around. He's 6-3 as an amateur, and then you got John Wick Moreno. John Wick is kind of says it all. That guy comes in for the kill. He goes in, finishes it surgically, and has been pretty impressive on his undefeated streak. So it looks to be a really good fight. Both of these guys should be able to put on a show. They both got the experience behind them. From what I've heard, possibly going pro on a couple of these guys soon. So it'll be nice to see one of these guys pick up a title. Hopefully defend once, maybe not, but we'll see. Man, that fight is a good chance to be fight of the night.
Aaron Baldonado was scheduled to also be in a title fight, I believe I saw at strawweight. It looks like that one's changed, but he's staying on the card and up in weight.
Yeah, so unfortunately, our champ Brendan Willard, he tweaked his knee a little bit. He said he's looking forward to coming back for the next card. But Baldonado's a gamer. He comes out of SFS gym. Shout out to Freddie, man. Those guys, they regardless of who it is that you put in front of them, always willing to take a fight. I asked him. We had another guy also step out. Asked him if he would be willing to go up and wait. They're both probably 125ers if we're not doing too much cutting. But the guy that he's fighting he's a newcomer. His name's Damian Garcia. Trains out of Bloodline. Trains with the Empire guys. So he's pretty well rounded. And then Baldonado, he probably belongs at 115, but he's definitely a gamer. He's won a couple at 125. They're gonna go up to 130, and it should be a good fight.
Gonna throw another name at you. Looks like we got unbeaten 3-0 Isaiah Delgado, also at 145 on the amateur card. What can you tell us about him?
So they'll be the main featured fight out of the amateurs right before the title fights. Isaiah Delgado, D1 wrestler. You wouldn't know it because the guy doesn't even like to wrestle when he's in the cage. He wants to throw hands. He's got big power. He likes to push the pace. And then on the other side of him is Elijah Quinn. Man, that guy, I've seen him take shots. I've seen him take shins to the head, and that guy is tough as hell. He continues going forward. He doesn't. He's hard to put away. I've seen him fight 3 or 4 times now, and every single time it's down to the wire, and he just continues going forward. So that's an exciting fight. he wanted that fight with Delgado, and Delgado's he really wants to test himself. As far as experience goes, he's not going to get much better experience than Elijah Quinn. So that's going to be that's another fight that may steal it, and they may be fight of the night.
Who else or which one that we haven't mentioned are you biting at the tongue to be able to mention to tell us about?
So Javier Gomez, he's 170 pounds. Um, Decorated wrestler, went out, wrestled on the Mexican national team. That guy is somebody. He's probably going to be one of those kids that in a couple years you're like, wow, that guy wrestled on our card, or that guy fought on our card. You know what I mean? He's fighting Isaiah Garcia, another guy that was in talks with possibly an APFC title fight. He's 2-0, so that's one of those fights that if it delivers the way it could, it may be good because both of them are good standing. Um, I know definitely Gomez is good on the ground. His wrestling is top notch. Um, we've been able to practice with him a couple of times. He's come in and done some work with us. He's out of SVG. Shout out Ricky, and he's definitely a gamer. It looks to be a good fight. That might have title implications if those guys if we either one of those guys comes out and wins convincingly. They may be in line for a 170 title.
Right. Isaiah had looked ultra impressive. Fight World got to see both of his first two amateur bouts. So, no, he's a tough task. That's really intriguing what you're telling us about his opponent, that kind of wrestling credentials. So, we got a little bit from the pro card, a little bit from the amateur card. What did you guys learn from the last event that's going to help you in this event?
So this one, like I said, we got 19 fights. I put together, I think what's going to be a banger of a card, top to bottom. Um, some of these guys are brand new. Some of these, a lot of these guys are debuting, and they're coming from gyms that are reputable. As soon as those coaches say, "Hey, I think this guy's ready," we know that they're probably going to be ready, and I've done my best or as good as I can in order to match up everyone as evenly as possible. Wins and losses, they come and go. I'm just hoping that card really delivers and keeps people, ready to come back for the next show. We added a little stuff here and there on the outside, and it should be a good card overall, top to bottom.
All right. Card number 5. Is card number 6 already in the works? The thought process?
Yes, we've got a few title fights that will be going on. We've got a couple guys that will be going pro. I don't want to spoil it. I'll let those guys announce it as they come up in the card. I do know who is planning on going pro at some point in the near future, and most of those guys will hopefully also be on our card. September 19th is that card as of right now. So if as long as nothing changes, September 19th will be Empire 6. And we've got a lot of guys that are already trying to get on this card. We've got a couple international guys that have reached out to me. So we may bring in a few bigger names, and we'll see how that one goes.
Warriors of the Empire is event number 5. Event number 6, talking about international names, bigger names. How exciting is that to you from where you guys started to be involved in some of these conversations?
Man, I think it's really just a testament. It's mostly me and my wife that are putting together a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the event stuff. We have help from all of our team. Everybody is really come together and embraced kind of their role. Our fighters, we put together a lot of our team on that card or on all of our cards, and man, it's surreal to as long as we can start bringing more and more people. We're trying to get everybody in as packed as that place can get. The seating is obviously not limited. So I'm hoping to start opening up more sections and move the cage a little further toward the middle, get more and more people in there, and just enjoy the whole atmosphere, enjoy the growth so far that we've been able to put together.
Live and local MMA this Saturday. The stars of the future will be on display in bulk in Las Cruces at the Pan Am. Ticketmaster, Empire Promotions matchmaker, Charlie Vasquez. Once again, we appreciate you joining my fight show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Keep doing the things you're doing, man. You're doing great. We appreciate you.
Charlie Vasquez, appreciate him taking the time out of the evening after class to jump on my fight show. Give us a preview of the card. Las Cruces, Empire Promotions doing it big. El Paso with Kingdom Fight League with CFC, where we have CFC 7, July 11th. We are waiting for confirmation. Earlier in the week, we had it. We are waiting right now for Anthony Birchak, our final guest of the night, planned for 7:30. So one more great guest to come to help us talk about the Southwest MMA scene. Can't wait to see our headliner here in a couple minutes. Big card this weekend. Headliner where you have two debuters, talented runs, and now from the amateur to that professional transition, big time jump. Not to mention John Wick Moreno. He could be on the cusp of making that same move here in the very near future. Loving the matchmaking, the use of 115 pounds, even though we're not getting that title fight. A lot of innovation from Empire Promotions, putting together some solid cards, some solid action. We've talked about BKFC tonight. We've talked with Aaron Baldonado, short notice, jumping back up 130 instead of making his straw weight debut. We talked to John Wick Moreno, looking to add another title to the resume, and it all goes down on Charlie Vasquez's card. We have a lot else going on this weekend. Just to touch on the MMA side, because we love to still keep you guys up to date with what's going on for the PFL, second biggest mixed martial arts promotion in the world that consistently does fights. Because I'll even say it, to the big MVP might already be number two. That argument is well in place, but the consistency is still with the PFL. Costello Van Steens, reigning middleweight champion. We have huge news on him. Yeah, it had been announced July 18th, which July 18th, you got BKFC in Naples. You've got BKB in LA, PFL Austin, and UFC OKC all on the same July Saturday. It's going to be a wild one. The new main event for PFL Austin, unfortunately, Costello Van Steens is out. And Johnny Eblin will now be facing Ipa Kasanganay for an interim middleweight title on the line, as Eblin looks to regain the belt and Ipa Kasanganay looks to get his first middleweight title, a former PFL season winner at light heavyweight. 135 pounds, the deepest division in the PFL, has added to their depths, signing UFC vet Daniel Marcos. His release had raised my eyebrows. I had brought that up on MMA After Hours last week. A 5-win, 1-loss, 1-no contest run in 7 fights in the UFC. It surprised me that Marcos was not re-signed by the UFC. Really savvy move, in my opinion, by the PFL to pick up Marcos. We know that Sergio Pettis with Mitch McKee. There's oodles and oodles of depth at 135. Let's see a champion be crowned. They're getting the middleweight division moving. We know with Archie Colligan challenging Usman Nurmagomedov, they've been hard at work at lightweight. Bantamweight needs a world champion. UFC and PFL vet Shane Burgos has announced after a 2.5-year layoff that he wants to return and make another run at MMA. This is a man who has picked up notable wins over Cub Swanson, Billy Quarantello, and Charles Jourdain, the boxing centric fighter from the East Coast. Put together a run, looked like he was on the cusp of being a title challenger, took free agency, went over the PFL. Things did not work out in his favor. Health issues caught up with him. He now says his body is back in order, and Shane Burgos wants to make another run at MMA. The UFC's most recent combat sports venture is expanding. UFC BJJ has announced the launch of UFC BJJ Opens. Not sure if you guys have heard this. A new series of tournaments where athletes from all ages and skill levels can register to compete under the UFC BJJ banner, from beginners looking to gain experience on the mats to expert competitors looking to make their mark. UFC BJJ Opens intend to set the standards for jiu-jitsu competitions and create a clear pathway for athletes from local matchups all the way to major UFC BJJ events and ultimately a UFC BJJ world title run. The first UFC BJJ Open is set to take place Saturday, August 22nd in Las Vegas, and will be the first of 4 planned events in 2026, with many more planned for 2027. It's not just Belgrade with Power Slap. We now have UFC BJJ Opens, the system and the tier system for getting into UFC BJJ coming into a line. We have openly discussed on MMA After Hours if the RFA, if Real American Freestyle, with how they've been a success on Fox Nation, if that venture might have been a clearer, easier pathway to have a secondary combat sport than doing the UFC BJJ. BJJ, they are literally trying to sculpt and build their own audience and own name recognition, much like what they're doing with Power Slap and Zuffa Boxing, where Real American Freestyle is using a lot of the UFC name and shine off of former wrestlers to enhance their product. I kind of like how the UFC is creating their own pipeline for the UFC Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Quite savvy of a move from one of the more savvy companies in all of combat sports. A quick shout out. Last weekend, there was no gi submission jiu-jitsu at Expo New Mexico. Shout out to everybody that competed under that setting. And also a shout out to everyone in action at the Nowhere to Run kickboxing at Overtime Bar and Grill. Unfortunately, I had to miss one, but Nick Gonzalez, Donald Sanchez Promotions, Nowhere to Run did it up real big once again for the amateur strikers to be able to put on their skills. Can't wait to see the next mega event. There is something huge in the works with a car show and a boxing, kickboxing, and plethora of events in store from Nowhere to Run, NG Enterprises LLC, and Donald Sanchez Promotions in the works. As far as on the local tip this weekend to be paying attention to, I started off the show by talking about local boxing, and we got more local boxing to get to because this is a big one. There have been rumors that big announcements are on the way again for Angela Leo, that Matthew Diamond Boy Grego has made a career defining move. Catherine Monet Lindemuth cannot wait for her opportunity to talk about being on the weird side of a draw with Lynn Sandstrom in a fight that it again felt like the cards should have fallen in the favor of the extreme road fighter. Not to be availed, though. A lot going on with that local boxing scene. Jason Sanchez was supposed to be in action this weekend, his fight getting canceled, leaving Abraham Perez as the lone New Mexican heading up to Michigan to challenge Jonathan Gonzalez, interim WBA flyweight championship. Gonzalez, it's challenging in my estimation because Gonzalez has been on that level. Gonzalez has a former world title on his mantle. Grand Rapids, Michigan, June 14th, the breakout moment for Abraham the Hammer Pettis is upon us. Flyweight division, largely overlooked, but hugely rich in quality. 112 pounds, consistently delivering some action packed and technically brilliant fights. Abraham Pettis, in his most compelling clash with a veteran, experienced, championship caliber fighter ahead of him, and all the young, hungry youth and potential that Perez brings in. Gonzalez looks to prove that he remains one of the elite fighters in the division despite years of inactivity, setbacks, injuries, everything you could think of that has tried to keep him out of the ring and has hampered his career. He has had to deal with. Pettis is one to know about adversity. We know about the swimming accident that nearly took away his life. And this is the opportunity of a lifetime, a moment that we didn't know if he'd get back to recapture all of the potential and opportunity that was in front of him when he was about to fight Matthew Griego. This is the opportunity to announce yourself as a true legitimate force on the world stage in one of the deepest weight classes in the world. I'm kind of surprised that we're even getting a Grand Rapid, Michigan opportunity for Abraham Pettis. I thought he was going to end up having to go to Spain, to Japan, somewhere overseas to get an opportunity like this. At 34, Jonathan Gonzalez knows that the opportunities are fading. Can he hold at bay one more young challenger? Confidence. Well, there have been injuries, and you don't know if you can trust your body. There has to be a confidence within Gonzalez that for years he has been at this championship level, a level that he will be showing to Pettis for the first time. The Puerto Rican Southpaw has spent more than a decade battling the best fighters available, building a reputation as one of the most technically gifted boxers in the lower weight classes. His journey of championship success has been anything but straightforward, with all these bumps, downs, zigs and zags, the injuries, personal issues, extended periods of inactivity that have prevented him from fully capitalizing on his talents. Yet every time questions arose about his future, Gonzalez found a way to return and has reminded the boxing world about his abilities. His style is built around timing, movement, ring IQ. He is not a devastating puncher. He excels at controlling distance, disrupting rhythm, and scoring points with sharp combinations from his southpaw stance. It's always hard for orthodox fighters to get a beat on a southpaw unless you're used to seeing it constantly in the gym. The excellent footwork and his ability to dictate the pace of the fight, often forcing his opponents to fight on his terms, is that veteran savvy that makes Gonzalez so dangerous. The key question surrounding his activities: has he aged? What will the ring rust look like? And if there's just any kind of slight change in his timing, or if he's lost any kind of burst in that first gear, you're going to see an ultra athletic, in the prime of his athleticism kind of fighter like Pettis take advantage. When Gonzalez is healthy and active, he has remained one of the most difficult puzzles in the division to solve, making him a more than intriguing test for this first time on the world stage for an Abraham Pettis who's seeing this moment for the first time, but he carries in the momentum and confidence of having taken apart everyone that has stepped in the ring with him at this point, as he has steadily climbed the ranks, steadily taken on tougher and tougher competition. His aggressive pressure, his determination, and his improving technical skills are immense. He lacks experience, but you can make up for that with the youthful vigor, the hunger. The momentum is all on his side. Fighters in Pettis' position often enter title fights believing they have everything to gain and nothing to lose. And that's a dangerous mentality. And I'm pretty sure that Pettis, whose style is built around forward pressure, he likes to close the distance. He puts punches together in bunches. He's got to remember to work the body. The challenge against Gonzalez is whether Pettis can maintain that pressure without becoming reckless, without becoming too predictable. Championship level veterans can capitalize on mistakes. Gonzalez has seen nearly every style under the sun, making this an intriguing and dangerous matchup on both sides. We're looking forward to this one on DAZN, the biggest fight of Abraham Pettis' career. Gonzalez wants to control range. He's using his footwork. He's establishing his rhythm and changing angles. Frustrate Pettis, force him to chase the action. The veteran may be able to build a lead early and then start to force his opponent to make mistakes. Pettis has to cut off the ring, maintain discipline pressure, not overzealous, but at a good distance, and just consistently weighing on Gonzalez, making him feel the fight, making him feel the layoff, the time away from the ring, attack the body to limit the movement, to just chip away at the gas tank and make this a physically demanding fight where your athleticism is able to take over and come into play. If Pettis is able to make this grueling, is able to get on the inside, is able to just force this one into a more brawling, like chaotic system, I think that he's going to have success. The hand speed, the youth, the chin. He hasn't been cracked as many times. I like Pettis. If you like the experienced fighter and feel like he's going to manage this one and take this to the distance and hand the younger fighter his first loss, I could understand your way of thinking. But for me, it's hammer time. Abraham Pettis coming to DAZN, and can't wait to see this kid get the opportunity to show all of the incredible work that he has been putting in for so long. July 11th, getting back to MMA, we have an incredible card again in El Paso. CFC has been doing some amazing things, and the cards just keep getting better and better. The main event this time around will feature someone that you've already seen in their cage. He's had the mic, though. It's been a long, long time since I've got to talk to this man. We are joined by CFC 7 headliner Anthony Birchak as soon as there right now.
What's up, Micah? Long fucking time, man. Haven't seen you in a minute.
Dude, I think the last time I saw you is grabbing you to hug you in a intersection on the Strip.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, on Fremont Street.
Yeah. And me and Andreas Quintana were walking one way and you and Mercedes were walking the other way. I was like, wait, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, fuck. What a wild memory. That has been a minute.
How are you?
I've been good, man. I'm literally just got done running MMA class right now. All of my fighters, I got a way bigger stable of fighters now, and the gym has just been growing and growing. And dude, it's been crazy because I still coach wrestling, still coaching jiu-jitsu, still trying to find time to train myself. Like I told the guys today, we were even numbers, and I was like, I really want to jump into this training session. Right now we got 10 round Tuesday going that I'm, taking some time away from. But I wanted to make this a priority. I wanted to get on the air with you because Caged Minds has always been, somebody that supported me, made my fan base in New Mexico and Texas and the Southwest huge. So much love to you, bro.
Always much love to you. I was talking to Jimmy Dukes. I don't know if you've had the pleasure of meeting. He's a media member in El Paso.
Of course.
And I was like, have you ever heard of MFC? And he's like, no, what's that? And I was like, that's how long I've known Anthony Birchak for.
Yeah, sorry, I got like guys coming in and out of the gym still, so I'm trying to be professional about this, but I wanted to make sure that I got you today. We'll see you later. But yeah, MFC, man, that was literally the springboard, and I still keep in contact with Mark Pavlich. You know what I mean? And we just talked about this. They're doing a documentary on me as this last fight, my show, and that has been a big part of it. Like, how did I get signed to the MFC? Did the MFC lead me to the UFC? And all of it's yes. You know what I mean? But that's been a long time that you've been, because actually the fight that led me to the MFC was the Matt Leyva fight and the Jackson's MMA series. And that's where we started talking.
Right. so long ago you hear on that regional fight scene and still been plugging away at it all these years later and coming back around to CFC. When did you start getting involved on the ring announcer side and starting to MC events?
Yeah, so that's a weird move for a fighter, right? Normally we do commentary or analysis, post-fight interview stuff, but I remember, I think it was like CFC 3 or 4. After commentary, they were like, "Hey, dude, would you ever be interested in like Bruce buffering?" And I was like, "Fuck, I don't know. That's a wild jump, right? I don't know if I knew the answer. Like I had the energy to be on the mic like that, but I didn't know if I had the voice. Like there's a very specific voice and persona that you have to be a ring announcer. But I thought it was such a cool thing because you always see fighters be commentators, but you never see fighters jump into ring announcing. And I remember Mercedes was just like, do your best version of Macho Man Randy Savage on the mic and just build your promo like you do on, on Instagram and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, the cream of the crop rises to the top. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. All right. So I didn't go that theatrical with it, but that same energy that I brought, the outfit that I wore, everything was like, this is on pre-fight weigh-ins and the weigh-in show emceeing. I want to look one way, and then the next night for the fights, I want to look another way. So it's been cool, man. It's been like a really neat. I get more nervous doing that than like fighting, because like I fucked up Alexa Grasso's name at one point. I think I fucked up Brandon Moreno. They were like, it's the baby assassin. I was like, the baby assassin? The assassin of babies? They're like, yeah, the baby face assassin. I was like, sure it's the baby face? So like I was like, damn, it's just Brandon Moreno. You know what I mean? Like I brought him out, and I think every event I grow more and more and understand how to pre-prep my note cards, talking to these fighters at weigh-ins. Like as soon as they jump off the scale, I tell them, get your food, get your drink, come over and see me, and I'm going to write notes down, as I did for commentary. But now I'm doing that same approach for the ring announcing, and I want to make sure I capture this right for you. And there's so many like interesting names and spellings to everything. So like we got Ian Varela, right, who spells his name like Iyean, and I spell it how it's supposed to be said. So I'm like Iyin, no, it's Ian. You know what I mean? And I try to get phonetically sounded out things for some of the Mexican guys that are coming up from Parral, Chihuahua, and Mexico City. I just want to make sure that I present them as they should be presented and how they should feel about getting all this glory and all the shine.
You've always been dedicated in that manner to whether it's been the coaching, whether it's been with your jiu-jitsu game, your MMA game. You've always been that dedicated and that determined to excel in everything you've done as long as I've known you.
Yeah, I mean, if this is going to be my new craft, why should I not perfect it?
That's just always the mentality, right?
Yeah, because it's like I had to be a perfect fighter every day, right? I had to try to make every session perfect. I had to try to give the same effort when I'm training. And now if this is going to be the leap to the future, I need to give it that same effort. You know what I mean? So I felt like the dedication to hone that craft now is the next step.
Has it been more than just CFC? Have there been several promotions that you're doing this for?
Yeah, so I've done commentary for like stuff in Arizona for like Ringside Unified Fighting, RUF. I've done World Fighting Federation, which is now defunct. But I've done commentary. This is the first organization where I've done ring announcing.
So have the nerves lessened on the second one, or was it still that same feeling, same kind of fight night under the bright light butterflies, or is it different?
I feel like this last show, the owner pulled me aside and was like, hey man, so at weigh-ins you were kind of flat. And I was like, fuck, really? I thought I did a good job. And he's like, no, I need you to bring a little bit more energy. And sometimes I'm worried about hogging the airtime, like when there's like downtime, you know what I mean? Like they did a sushi eating contest this last time, and I had to hype that up as well, right? Like it was a fight. I had to, break down competitor number 1, 2, and 3. And I had, basically like 2 horses racing. Like, this guy's on the last stretch. This guy's still working on his first thing. Like, make some noise, get him going. Like, who do we think's going to win? Is it going to be 1? Let me hear it from this side. Is it going to be 2? Let me hear it from this side. And it's been like, I think that last show I gave probably my best energy performance that I have thus far.
Is it weird coming from that athletic standpoint where you concentrate the energy into one 15-minute burst to where now you're like, I'm on it for 4, 5, 6 hours?
Yeah, it's by the co-main event, main event, my voice is shot. And I'm like, how do I maintain this level of energy over 9 fights, 10 fights? And that's with fights falling off of the card. What if I show up one night and a 16 fight card stays, nobody falls off, you know what I mean? And I'm screaming for 16 to 20 fights. That's happened. I think that was the last CFC when they were at Speaking Rock, that I felt by like one of the last 4 fights, my voice was just going, and I cracked like a kid in puberty when I was like trying to announce the main event. I was like, oh fuck, that was cringe. And I felt like I needed to maintain a certain volume and a certain intensity so that I can continue over the entirety of the show. It's like a 5-round fight, right? Like, do you want to bust your nut in round 1 and then have nothing left for 2, 3, 4, and 5? Or do you want to pace yourself and continue to have like a good, even keeled pace throughout the fight? It's the same way as a commentator, right? Like, I have to pace myself with how much energy I give and to who. And like, it's hard because there's like homies that I'm announcing, and I'm like, I want to give him a really good thing, and I like put way too much into it, and then I am shit for the next 2 fights. You know what I mean?
And it's one of those things you never think of with the fight game. You have to build up as it gets longer, as you get more tired, because it's the main event. It's the co-main event. So
Right.
As you're at your lowest energy level, you actually have to produce your highest.
I think AJ Hotchkins, there was a fight where AJ was the main event, and I'm sitting between the 2 fighters, right? And I'm like right here in the middle, and I announce the challenger. And as I'm announcing AJ, he walks over to me and he's face to face with me. And we're having this moment where, one, I'm not trying to laugh because I know we're trying to have this moment together where I'm fucking hyping him up. And I always see this time when like Bruce Buffer really gives, Red Corner a lot of energy, gives him an announcement and then fist bumps him at the end. And I remember AJ doing that. And I was like trying to stay focused because it was such a weird and cool moment to try to do that and not laugh and stay in character and still announce him as, AJ, the big game hunter Hotchkins.
Into the broadcasting side, into the commentary side. Last time we saw you in the cage, in the UFC, it was 2021. Did you expect to compete again after that? I know there's been a couple offers and they haven't fully come together. What's the competing side thought process been like?
That last contract in the UFC was interesting because it was like COVID times and maybe it was slowing down, but I got called every week in 2020, every week for 12 weeks straight. My manager called me and was like, hey, you're going this weekend. Like, can you be on weight? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And I'm roofing the entire time. And I had to get off every week that they're like, hey, I need you to go do this. I need you to go do these medicals. And I'm like looking at my foreman, like I was like, hey, they're calling, I got to go. And he was like, fucking go do it, bro. By like week 6, they were like, shut the fuck up. Every week for 12 weeks, they were like, on Monday, hey, you're going, bro. They want you. They just asked for a bantamweight. Like, I'm sending you in. Wednesday, they were like, hey, man, they went with somebody else. They did that for 12 weeks to me. Okay, how fucking much of a emotional mental roller coaster was that on top of everything else that's going on in the pandemic? So Halloween fell on a Sunday one night, and I was getting drunker than ever. And I remember Monday morning, they hit me up and they said, hey, this is not a drill. They asked for you by name for this weekend's card. Can you make 135? And I was like, ugh. And by this time, they had been calling so many guys on short notice that they were giving everybody catch weights. And I was like, I can make 40, make 42 maybe. And they were like, they need you to make scratch. And I went and looked at the card, and I was like, who's on this card? And it was like Gustavo Lopez versus somebody and another bantamweight. And I go, there's only 2 bantamweights fights on this card. Like, they asked for me by name. I was like, it's Gustavo, isn't it? Who's my main training partner and black belt at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu and Extreme Couture. So as I'm getting off the phone with my agent, Gustavo calls me and he's like, yo, did they call you? I go, yeah, I just got off the phone with him. He's like, what do you think? And I was like, what do you think? He's like, at this point I was like on a 2-fight win streak coming back from Ryzen. I went 0-3 in Ryzen. I won 2 or 3 fights when I came back home for like combates and LFA. And he was like, this is the way I see it. Yeah, 3, right? So he was like, this is the way I see it. They're telling me that this is my last shot to stay in the UFC. I know you've been trying to get back into the UFC. He's like, the way that I see this is happening in November. You and me go into Christmas with, tens of thousands of dollars in our pocket, and we get to feed our family. And I was like, well, we have hundreds of rounds together at 10th Planet, hundreds of rounds together at Extreme Couture. What's a couple more, right? So we said yes. We signed on the dotted line. That Monday, I flew out Tuesday. I was 170 on Monday. I made 135 by Thursday. On Thursday, the UFC medical team calls me and said, hey, there's an anomaly that showed up with your brain scan. I said, yes, I have a venous anomaly on the front right cortex of my brain. This isn't anything new. You guys have seen it for a while. I've been part of the Cleveland Clinic study for CTE and TBI for the last 10 years. They're aware of it. They've sent you these medicals so that you guys know. And they're like, yeah, we just need another image of it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm on schedule for my weight cut now. Like, I don't want to do anything that takes away from this. So I show up to the med team and they give me an IV. And I'm like, I can't have an IV. And they're like, no, it's a medical process. Like, we're going to give you a therapeutic use exemption for it. But I go, I don't give a fuck about the TUE. I give a fuck about the fact this is going to bump my weight up 10 more pounds. And I just backtracked from a very successful 30 pounds in 3-day weight cut. I took the IV. They got my brain scan. Yes, you're fine. Great. Okay, awesome. I end up making 136. But something really interesting happened that had never happened to me over all my weight cuts. My ears sounded like I was underwater, or like somebody was plugging my ears while I was going through the UFC med check doctors on weigh-in day. And they're like, how much weight did you cut this week? And I looked at, and they were like, I was like, I don't know, like 15 pounds. And they were like, okay. So fight ends up happening. We had a pretty decent round 1, and I ended up just gassing out. And, Gustavo took my back and choked me out in round 2, and he ended up winning. Right after that, I had asked, I go, listen, this time around, I was a yes man the whole time for the first 4 fights with you guys. I said yes to Gustavo. Give me a camp, please. Give me 8 weeks. I'll fly to Yaz Island. I'll do whatever you guys want, but I want a camp. And they said, okay, you got it. They fly me home. When I land, they said, come back. We got a fight for you on the Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou card. I was like, pay-per-view? Dope. That's my first pay-per-view card. When is it? And they're like, 2 weeks. We need you back in Vegas. I literally had 1 day at home, jumped back on a plane, and I was going to fight Johnny Eduardo, who is still under contract. But how old is he? 42? I'm 40. I think he was at the time of this. That was 5 years ago. I was 35. So he was like 41 back then. So he's got to be 45, 46 right now.
45.
And I said yes because Matt Lopez, who's my homie, fought him, choked him. Everybody that had fought him and choked him was a wrestler style. And I go, this is perfect matchup. So I went back to Vegas, started working Ray Sefo, my coach that's striking. I was like, it's a Muay Thai guy. I just need to do some defensive Muay Thai drills and get in on some wrestling. I stopped working defensive wrestling this whole camp and just worked on offensive wrestling. The week of the fight comes and they bumped it back and they moved, I believe they moved the Stipe fight card back a week or 2 weeks or something like that. So I had an extra 2 weeks. I think in all, I think I had a 4-week camp to jump back into a fight. Johnny Eduardo's visa ended up getting denied. And another bantamweight fight fell off on that card. And then they moved that fight specifically to not a pay-per-view. So I was back at the Apex on a fight night and ended up fighting Tony Gravely. And so the defensive wrestling, which I normally key on, and I would have had a perfect camp for that. He's not very special. Everything that he's been submitted with was also a version of a Darce, a guillotine, or an anaconda. If you look at my first 7 fights as a pro, that's what I finished with, anacondas and Darces. I end up getting TKO'd by a guy that's never fucking TKO'd anybody in his life. And I remember my coach telling me, after Coach Casey was like, hey, man, you don't need to pay me my coaching fee for this. And I was like, I wondered why. He's like, we're just past it, bro. Like, we're in a good place. Like, we're just beyond that now as student and teacher. And I went back and I watched the fight time and time again. And I remember I had Tony Gravely in a deep-ass guillotine. And I'm about to squeeze. And you see his hand come up to start, like, looking like he's going to tap. And Casey goes, use it to sweep. Don't dump your – so I swept, came up on top, landed 2 elbows. He came up in dogfight. We got back to our feet, and I was just like, that was the one opportunity that I could have had right there. You know what I mean? I ended up losing that fight by TKO. Mark Smith was my ref, and he's a good friend of mine. And when I got hit with that left hook and I sat back, my hands came up, but I like rocked back a little bit. And he said that my eyes kind of like went wonky. And I was like, Mark, if I'm not fucking flatlined like I was with Thomas Almeida, do not stop that fight. And he's like, buddy, I care for you. Like, I'd rather stop it 1 punch too early than 1 punch too late. And I'm like, brother, please. And he was just like, sorry, dude. I'm really sorry that I had to stop that. I went back and watched the fight. And like, I understood the situation. But, as a fighter in you, you're like, I could have stood up and done something, maybe put him in another submission. He was getting tired, but I get it, man. And then, like, from then on, it was just, to me, like, I went, 2 and 4 in the UFC. Like, if I wasn't at a 500 record, then I probably wasn't meant to be there. And that was, like, the hardest pill to swallow, and now I'm just like, I guess, like, I had, a decent career there and, not giving up more than 1 takedown on the first 4 contracts that I had. I think Dylan Lopez was the only one that took me down, but all in all, man, that's how that last contract went. I ended up asking for another fight. I was like May 16th. It was my birthday. And I was like, hey, I see you guys are coming back to Vegas and Phoenix. Like, can I please get on one of these cards in 8 weeks? And my manager was like, yeah, let me call him right now. And then he was like, hey, man, so they went the other way with it. And I was like, what do you mean they went the other way? They're like, they're releasing you. They're giving you your papers. And I was like, dude. So I say yes on 3 days notice. I say yes on 3 weeks notice. And then they fire me. Like, I was fucking pissed, bro. Like, I've never felt like I had a fair shake. And then someone posed the point of like, okay, well, then what's the difference between you and the other guys that get called on, a week's notice that are having success? And I like look at those guys and I'm like, they don't have kids. They don't have a business. They don't run a gym. They don't have a family. Like, they're young kids that are, just training all day. So that's when I was like, maybe I'll just step away from this for a while. And then last 5 years since the UFC, I'm just trying to find fights that make sense. And they want me to fight these kids that are 12-0. And I'm like, yeah, pay me. You know what I mean? I had a fight lined up with, he was a UFC vet too, Nick Aguirre. And Nick,
Broca.
yeah. And that fight fell through because I was cutting weight and I was way ahead of schedule. I felt beautiful going down to 145. That guy, he was so one-dimensional with what he was doing. I was not afraid of him. That's why I said yes to him. And I had to tell him the truth too. Like, bro, I've watched every single one of your fights. You're the same guy over the last 7 fights. Like, I'm not afraid of you. I pulled out because I had rhabdo. I ended up getting massive kidney failure and muscle poisoning due to rhabdomyolysis. So one night I came home from the sauna. I had a little bit of like a fever. I was sick. And I felt like I'll go to the sauna and sweat it out. And I got in the sauna, and I usually do 5 sits. I do a 25-minute sit, then I'm out for 12. I do a 20-minute sit, then I'm out for 10. Do a 15-minute sit, then I'm out for 7. I basically cut my rest in half for whatever I was in the sauna. I did not sweat in that first 25-minute set. And I kept pushing, thinking that as soon as I was like, oh, it's the next one and I'll break my sweat. It's the next one, I'll break my sweat. And I'm getting weaker and weaker and weaker. I went home and I told Mercedes, I go, hey, something's not right. I don't feel good. I feel like I have COVID. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I go, can you take me to the hospital? She's like, I'm not taking you to the hospital. If I take you to the hospital, the fight's off. And I go, I felt like I could still go to the hospital, get an IV, feel better, and still make weight because that's how far ahead. I think I was like 150 2 weeks out from the fight because I was just running and it was in great shape. I ended up catching COVID and I went to Tucson University Medical Center and there was this long ass line on a Monday and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, something's happening. Like everybody's sick with the same shit going on. And it was it was like another round of COVID that had just spiked up in Tucson. And they're like, you have COVID. Like, go wait in the lobby. We'll triage you. And I go, no. I was like, I'm not worried about the COVID. I go, my back, on my lower back is killing me, and I'm pissing iced tea. And they're like, oh, you have rhabdo. Like, we need to get you on an IV, like, right now. And I go outside, and I'm waiting for them to call me back. And there's, like, this old man. He was, like, 85, sitting in a wheelchair. And I was like, sir, how long have you been here? He goes, I had a heart attack at 3:30 p.m. today. I got brought in on an ambulance, and I've been here since then. It was fucking 10:30 at night. So I waited for an hour. Willie, my black belt, my best friend came. He was the one that met me at the hospital because Mercedes was like, I'm not going with you. She's like, you're just being, a bitch right now. This is just the weight cut eating at you. Like, you need to, like, get tough. I went and laid down upstairs, and I got a coughing fit, and my entire body seized in a cough. So I felt like I was cramping everywhere, and I just couldn't move because everything, if I extended, my abs would cramp. I would come forward, my back and kidneys would cramp. So I was like, I'm going to drive myself to the hospital. So I waited there. I got there at 10:30. I waited there till midnight, like 12:20. And they said, oh, yeah, you're going to die. Like, we need to get you in triage. They didn't give a fuck. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to hydrate. I'm going to stop by Walgreens on the way there, get some electrolytes, get some, some sodium from a V8. I ended up laying down with her, and I got these violent hiccups and coughs. And she's like, dude, you got to go lay downstairs. Like, I can't get to sleep. I got to be up at 5:30 in the morning for, a wrestling thing. And I went down and slept on the couch, and I, like, Googled rhabdo and hiccups. And they're like, nervous system failure, complete body shutdown. This is, like, means for a hospital. And I was like, I was just at the hospital. So I laid there making peace, like, I might not wake up in the morning. Like, I'm just going to go to sleep. I fell asleep and didn't wake up from Monday night till Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock when I was supposed to be weighing in. And Nick Aguirre took to Instagram calling me a fucking bitch and a pussy and all this and that I was afraid. And I was like, bud, I'm sorry I had to pull out. Like, you have to understand, no matter what, I was going to show up with COVID. I was still going to go to the fight. No matter what, I was going to show up to the fight with COVID and still beat that kid's ass. And he ended up, doing all this shit. And I was like, buddy, your dad's been the matchmaker for APFC. You've been getting spoon-fed tomato cans the last 5 fights. And it showed when you jumped into the UFC and got your fucking ass beat. I go, I'm not afraid of you. I didn't pull out because I'm afraid. I pulled out because I'm fucked up.
Where did you wake up Friday?
In my bed upstairs. I don't know how I got there. Mercedes could have carried me. I could have gone up in a fever dream and laid down, but I fell asleep on my couch downstairs. I woke up in my bed upstairs Friday.
Mercedes just left you in bed for 5 days?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah, me too.
Holy shit.
She's like, yeah, see, I knew you were just sick. And I was like, I had rhabdo. It wasn't just sick. It was COVID with rhabdo. The worst feeling of my life. And literally, my piss looked like sweet tea coming out.
It's truly a miracle.
So then I just made peace with myself, and I'm like, I'm too old. I can't do this anymore. Fast forward, I'm 40 fucking years old, and here I am. Main event.
A couple years went by, and you got an offer.
Main event. 5-round title fight. We're going.
And that wasn't the first one this year, because we got an event this weekend in Las Cruces. And at one point, it looked like you and Alejandro Cuero might have been fighting on that card.
That's a conversation that you and me can have off air. Ultimately, fuck it. Ultimately, this is what happened. I took 4 of my fighters out there, and the promoter said, hey, instead of putting you guys in 4 hotel rooms, I'm going to get you guys an Airbnb. And I was like, okay. So we get to the Airbnb. It's beautiful. Then I get a text message saying, hey, our weigh-in venue fell out. Can we use your Airbnb for the weigh-in site? I was like, you paid for the spot, dude. I don't give a shit. Yeah, sure. If I would have known how it was going to go down, I would have never agreed to this, because 80 people show up at this house. I'm still trying to get my fighters on weight in our own, putting them in the hot bath and Epsom salt and trying to get them down. These fighters are coming in and out, trying to shit in the bathroom and hold up the bathroom all the time. I'm like, bro, this isn't just a venue. This is our place we're staying. So in the master bedroom, I had all my gear out, all my wallet, all my personals out. And people commandeered my bedroom for a photo shoot area for the fighters, a makeup area for the ring girls, and an interview place for the media people. So I ended up having to take all of my fighters in every room in the house, took all their shit out, put it in one room, and we locked it. My guys weigh in, and I'm like, we had the kitchen to cook food in, but they use the kitchen as the main weigh-in area. So the commission's in there, fighters are in there, doctors are there. We can't cook, we can't eat. So I told him, hey, look, I'm going to take my fighters to Olive Garden and go eat. And he goes, all right, make sure you're back at 6 for the face-offs. And this is like 5 o'clock. I'm like, all right, get to Olive Garden. It's a normal wait at Olive Garden. It's 5:30. We're eating. And he's like, hey, where are you guys? And I'm like, bro, I told you I had to feed my fighters. I wish we had a kitchen, So after that, I was still chill. I didn't give a shit. I told every boy, do not tell Mercedes how this went down. Do fucking not, please. And we came back, and like every day a question got answered. We're like, oh, well, we couldn't cook at the house because we had to go to Olive Garden. Well, why? Because the weigh-ins got done there. And then it just snowballed into us having to spill the whole situation. She's like, fuck that. She's like, show me that contract. I go, I don't want you to see the contract. I said, I didn't even want you part of this. I wanted to do this for me. This is my last fight. I'm going to do it all by myself. She ended up finding the contract, seeing everything. She goes, nope, not doing it. Then, like a week after, I get a message from them saying like, hey, bro, you left the Airbnb completely destroyed. The guy's charging us and blah, blah, blah. I go, dude, we cleaned up. Like the most that we did was we left dishes in the sink because they had no trash bags in the house. They had no dishwashing detergent. They had no laundry detergent. I washed items that we used. I just didn't wash them with soap. I folded them up, put them back. I cleaned up as best as we could. I put the much dirty dishes that we could in the dishwasher, and I left like a bean pot and something else in the thing. And I go, tell them to send pictures because we didn't leave that shit there like that. I go, we cleaned up as best as we could and put all the trash bags outside on the corner by the trash can. So that whole situation led to Mercedes, who's been my manager for 15 fucking years, getting really goddamn mad and pulling me from that fight. And I expressed to her how big of an opportunity as my last fight got taken away from me against a very winnable opponent. You know what I mean? And she's like, I'll find you something. We'll get you something. And that's when the CFC thing popped up. Initially, the card was supposed to be July 4th in El Paso, but the Texas Athletic Commission was spread too thin. They already had a bunch of events. And so the reason it would have been so poetic for me on July 4th, 2026 is because I made my MMA debut July 4th, 2009. And it would have been like a birth and a death to me, right? Is like coming in the day, 2009, July 4th, and going out the same day, July 4th, 2026. There was something really poetic to me with that. So that's why I really wanted that. And it ended up getting pushed back to July 11th, which doesn't lessen the importance to me, but it was just something really cool that I would have liked to do the same day as the same day. You know what I mean?
Definitely put that capstone, put the bow on it in such a poetic way. Now you get another experienced foe for this last fight, Dunmar Roa. He's fought for Brave, he's fought for Fury, he's fought around the world. What do you think about this moment, this opportunity, this matchup for the fight?
He's got 50 fights. No matter what, you got to respect that. 50 fights around the world. You got to respect that. And I do great, deeply. I've watched him fight. Bro, he beat Ian Entwistle. Ian Entwistle beat me. You know? Like, if you watch that fight, there's a little bit of Ian ends up popping his own knee in a leg lock. And Dumar came up on top, ground and pounded him, and they called it a TKO. But Ian injured himself. But I watched him fight at Lux. I've watched him fight at a couple different places. He even had 3 fights lined up. I was the last fight of 3 fights. He was supposed to fight May 31st at Fury. He was supposed to fight June 13th this coming weekend. And then he was supposed to fight me July 11th. Mercedes sent those contracts that she found, and on Tapology, she found the upcoming. She sent that to Carlos and Roland and like, hey, he might not make it to Birchak, and this is going to be something that's a problem. You know what I mean? We're putting a lot of time and effort and money into training him again, and we're concerned that, you know, Roa's not going to make it. So they hit him up, and they were like, hey, bro, like, you cannot do these fights if you want, you know, if you want to fight for CFC. And I understand, like, he's from Colombia. I think he just fights, gets money, sends it home, which is cool, you know, and I really appreciate him withdrawing from those fights so that we could have ours. He was going to fight 2 very young kids, you know what I mean? Like, one was 4-2, one was 4-0. I expected him to maybe go 1-1 in those, because one of the kids is like a rear naked choke demon. And I appreciate him overlooking those to take this fight with me. And I'm really looking forward to fighting another old guy. You know what I mean? He's 37 or 38. And like I said, they kept offering me these young kids that are, you know, 17, 18, 19, 21 years old. And it's like, I'll fight those kids, but you got to pay me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be anyone's fucking stepping stone.
How fun is it to have a veteran, another respectable name, to have another warrior, or as he is, he's El Legionario Samurai, his nickname, to have somebody like of that mentality in front of you?
Yeah, if he goes by the last samurai, the legendary samurai, like that, I expect him to enter the octagon with that same mentality. You know what I mean? Of that kamikaze samurai style. And I think his striking and unorthodox style of switching between southpaw, ortho, some of the kicks that he does are really unorthodox and they come from weird angles. I've seen him catch a lot of good guys and, you know, put them on skates with some of his kicks. You know me, bro. Like, I study everybody like a goddamn book. So I've done my game plan and my work. I got a new boxing coach, Ruben Bravo from Bravo Boxing Club. And I felt like what we've been doing with the entire fight team, not just me, is showing through. We had Rage in the Cage 2 weeks ago, and all 4 kids that work with him, we went 4-0. We had 3 finishes, an 8-second knockout, and then we had a unanimous decision. And that's where the boxing was a little more prevalent, because the first 3 fights was me and my style. It was wrestle jitsu, right? And those kids executed that game plan perfectly. In the third fight, the first 2 rounds, we wrestled jitsu'd a lot. And in the last round, it was beautiful. His name's Andrew Lay. He's fought out at CFC. He's fought at Empire. He entered this boxing flow state that I've seen nobody in our team look like before. And I give all that credit to Ruben and what he's been doing with our fighters. So I'm really excited to give and show the new version of what I've been working on. Aside from my wrestling, aside from my jiu-jitsu, I'm trying to be more of a boxer, not throwing as many kicks and not, understanding a little bit more about angles, openings, range, timing, being a little bit more polished, my overall hand and head movement, how you play with distances and stuff like that. So really, really itching to start getting that going.
See, there's the intrigue. If you're going out there for one more hurrah, do we get the vintage Anthony Birchak? Is he attacking the wrestling? Are you getting on the back? Because we know you can pop off a guy's head with your rear naked choke, or are we seeing someone that's going out there to have fun, to let the hands go, to mix it up one more time? That's just the intrigue. I know you're not gonna give
Ruben,
away the game plan, but I feel
so
like
Ruben's
that's
like, hey stud, do me a solid, okay? Every sparring round, I want you to give me 90 seconds of doing nothing, just moving, playing with your range, throwing your jab out there, and then you can do whatever you want to do. He goes, I'm trying to turn a bull into a matador, and I go, bro, that's all fine and dandy, but when that motherfucker hits me, you're gonna get the bull. There's no. I would love to be a matador and move like Mayweather and, play on the edge. And as soon as he hits me, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get. So I would like to say that you're going to see a fun, polished boxing Birchak. Reality and history says Birchak by sub. I don't know.
Birchak by sub. That would be, is that the fitting capstone? Would that be fitting from the ways that you've had success, from all the accolades, from what the jiu-jitsu and the submission game has meant to you?
Everyone asks me, what is my favorite thing to finish somebody with? Do I like knocking people out? Do I like submitting people? If you hit somebody and you knock them out, that doesn't mean you've broken their spirit. Doesn't mean you've broken their will. You just shut the computer off, right? Like I said, when I got dropped, I still wanted to fight, right? When you put somebody in a submission and that motherfucker has to have a conversation with himself of like, I don't want to be here anymore. He's hit me. He's elbowed me. He's taken me down. I can't get out of mount. When I get out of mount, he's on my back. When I get out of his back control, he's back to mount, hitting me more. Those incentives to corralling him down the place that I want him to go, of giving me the submission, is the sweetest feeling that I could do. And hey, give me 5 minutes. I'm on an interview. All right. Walking them down a road where they have to make an agreement with themselves to give up and tap, there's nothing sweeter to me than that.
Anthony Birchak, he's always been one of a kind. The years of friendship, the years covering you, bumping into you, always fun. Getting to have covered you, seeing you throughout this process, and it's awesome that you're doing this one more time.
I've wrestled with demons of doubt, and this camp has been so emotional, and I've been thanking Mercedes almost daily for still being by my side through this whole fucking ride. It's crazy to see it come to an end, but I've been around the world. I've done some of the coolest shit out of anybody in Tucson. I've done some of the coolest shit out of anybody in Arizona, anybody in the fight game. I fought for the 3 major organizations, Bellator, Ryzen, UFC. Then, farm leagues like LFA, Combates, MFC. I just think about all the journeys, all the walks, all the people that have entered and exited my life throughout this career, the people that have remained. And it's just been so emotional. I'm even tearing up on the treadmill sometimes when I hear a song and I imagine the walk and I imagine the people cheering, and I imagine the people booing, and that gets me so emotional because, like, this is the last time. It's hard for me to set the sword down and give it to these youngsters, but right now I have like a really, really bright future with the camp that I got and the students that I got right now, and it's just motivating more and more for me to be the best version of a coach that I could be, because I'm still towing the line of competing and doing this. So I set out to do 3 goals this year. The number 1 was to compete at ADCC Open and win gold again. I did that, and I had an amazing match. I didn't beat some bum. I didn't beat some, purple belt that went into the expert division. I didn't beat some 17-year-old kid. I beat Russell Doan from the UFC, who flew out all the way to Phoenix to do the ADCC Open. And I was able to submit Russell and then beat him on points and then get that first place medal. So I checked that box. The next one that I wanted to do was the US Open, which I skipped last year, but the year before that I took bronze in Greco-Roman, and I missed my medal in freestyle by 1 match. I lost to an I lost to a Kyrgyzstani world champion and a Kyrgyzstani world's bronze medalist. For whatever reason, a bunch of dudes from Kyrgyzstan showed up to the US Open. I didn't lose to any Americans. The only guys I lost to were these Kyrgyzstan guys that was a world bronze medalist and a national Kyrgyzstani bronze national medalist, something like that. I didn't get to check that box this year because CFC fell on that weekend. I would have been in Vegas on Monday. I would have wrestled Tuesday, Wednesday. My finals matches would have been on Thursday. Then I would have had to fly out at 10 p.m. to land in El Paso at midnight. Or I would have flown out at 5 a.m. to land in El Paso at 8 a.m. and then show up to weigh-ins at 10 a.m. and then do that whole thing. So I just said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'll go do CFC. And then my last box that I needed to check was the MMA fight. So that's where the July 11th thing came up. So people ask me, like, are you going to do the US Open again in 2027? Are you going to do RAF? Are you going to try to get on RAF? And RAF would be cool. That'd be a box that I would want to check, I've asked for Dominic Cruz at RAF. I've asked for Marab at MAF. I've asked for who else? I said Aljo would be cool at RAF. I think there's a lot of TJ Dillashaw. I think there's a lot of Cody Garbrandt would be another one. Like a lot of those guys that are like my generation of UFC that wrestled in college. I think one of those matches would be super dope for me at RAF. And if I can get that done this year, walking into 27 with no competitions in mind and only focusing on my students, building my school, building my fight camp and making world champions here, that's the next step.
Toro Tech, Tucson, Arizona. And just because he's going to stop competing doesn't mean we're not going to see Anthony Birchak on the world stage. He's just going to be yelling at his fighters now instead of yelling at his opponents.
Yeah, man. I'm super amped about what the future holds. I got 4 guys right now that are really, really promising. And when I look at the overall roster of people that I have 16 active fighters right now. And I'm super, super ambitious about what those guys can do.
Oh, nothing but continued success upon you, Mercedes, and everything that you guys have really been crafting by hand for well over a decade.
Yeah, we've been together for 15 years, bro. And I've been doing this game for, 17 years, 18 years now?
Do you still have the MFC ring?
They stole it when they broke into my house, remember? I've never seen that thing again. I hope someday the universe brings it back to me, but man, that was a big loss.
Didn't know if it popped back up through the years yet, so it still hasn't. Wonder if like a pawn shop or one day it'll just pop up, because I don't know what somebody else would have a value for that.
Someone told me, this is a funny story. Someone told me they went to go pick up drugs. This is a second pick up drug story that found my shit somewhere. Someone went to go pick up drugs from this cholo in West Mesa or East Mesa, and they said he was wearing it, that his chola girlfriend bought it off of some dude for him. I don't know how true that is, but that's the last time I heard of that.
There'll be the legend of the MFC ring throughout Arizona. Even more epic, though, that we know where the original photo came from and when you had it and you were the first one to get it.
Yeah, for sure. That one eats at me, man. That's why every once in a while I have this picture of me wearing it on my middle finger, and I'll just post it randomly and be like, to the motherfucker that has this, this is for you. Eat it.
July 11th, El Paso. I can't wait for it. Anthony Birchak, it's been too long. It was great getting to talk with you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you having me on, bro. Much love.
Much love. We'll have to do this again a lot sooner next time.
Absolutely, for sure. Let's get one after the fight. Let's do a recap.
Definitely. I'll hit you up.
All right, brother. Thank you.
You have a good night.
You too.
It's been my fight show. A beautiful night. Anthony Birchak, CFC 7 headliner, July 11th, El Paso. Everybody look forward to an incredible night of action. All pro card. CFC been building and building what they've been doing in El Paso. Shout out to Empire Promotions. Not everybody's going to have the same experience with the promotion. You guys go down and check them out in Las Cruces this weekend. A shout out to Charlie Vasquez for coming on the show and giving us the preview. Also to Aaron Baldonado. Credit to him. Jumping up from strawweight to now 130 to stay on the card. John Wick Merino. Another amateur lightweight title fight. And so far what has been a evolving and unbeaten run for him. Shout out to Barber Gabe Fades, 100 Coors Boulevard, Northwest, Lobo Plaza, Suite 107. You get the Barber RS beer bomb from the barber shop. You order it online at barbergabesfades.net so you can skip the long lines, get in there and make it a one-round experience instead of having to wait all the way in there to the decision to have your name called. Shout out to Robbie Ray Images, the photos from Fight World, CFFC, all the work he does in the background on the tech side for helping us out, and possibly shout out to him and say hi to him if you guys see him in Las Cruces at the Empire Promotions event this weekend. Every like, every share, every subscriber, every review, it is all appreciated. Go over to the website cageminds.com. Check out MMA After Hours, Pro Wrestling After Hours, and every Saturday we got Cage Minds Fight Hour, ESPN Radio, Albuquerque 1017. The team. We should be having Austin Trout on this week. Last week, a huge shout out, appreciation, and go over to the website to check it out. If you didn't hear our conversation with Bo Hightower, and a week before, we had the one and only Greg Jackson on. Sunday fights, red, white, and blue gloves are now out from the UFC for the Freedom 250 fights. Steve Garcia, Josh Hokett, Alex Pereira can make history as the first UFC fighter to win titles in 3 weight classes. I've had a lovely time talking fights. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been my fight show. We'll check you out next week.